Good evening. It's Monday. Um, is it really Monday? So, we had a little bit of a catastrophe yesterday. Nothing, life-shattering, but at the same time, my 500-gram pot of pins took a leap from the table, despite the lid on it, landed on the floor, and emptied itself. The pins did not fit back in because, as you may recall, I have, on a number of occasions, complained about the fact that all the pins were flat and sideways and, if anything, pointy end up, making them really hard to pick out of at the bottom, inside. This flatness and uniform lining by side meant that a lot more pins fitted in the pot than normally fit in the pot. Now, sure, if you could line them all up and say, point your ends down, please, but, line them all up, sure, I'm sure all the pins would go back in. But of course now the pins were free. Now they mingled. Now they didn't fit. So, my pin pot is remarkably looking fuller than it was because of all the extra air created by the mingling of pin. There is a second pin pot and a pile of stuff in Hedgie because they didn't fit back in. So you'll be actually quite surprised in the amount of pins I put in Hedgie if you'd seen the original pile of pins. It looked huge, and yet actually he's only half full. But we are here to start Triangle 26. It's what? It's not even halfway. It's not even halfway. But never mind. For some reason I thought 26 might be halfway, but of course it's not, it's 36. So we got along plenty. Of course it's not, because, we're only on square number 7. So anyway, let's get down to triangles. And it is gonna be a long day, and I've got cold hands for some reason. I don't know why. They weren't cold earlier, but now they are. So, don't know why they suddenly feel so cold. But cold, stiff hands are generally unpleasant, so that doesn't help with the whole lace making procedure. Smaller pot pins. A prickly Hedgie. And a very full looking bar of pins. Well, on the flip side, the pins should be easier to get out of the big pot now. But I'm going to start with these, because Hedgie's a pain in the arse to fill, so I'm going to start with these. Now, these are not all staying out the way, which is slightly irksome. Can I assist them with this and finding a pinhole below? Problem is finding a pinhole below to put them in. I want them back as far as I can make it. There we go. Yeah, that should do for a minute. I won't be there long, so we need to, before we can do this one, I can't see the hole. There it is. feeling a little chaotic on the pillow at the moment, but can you... This is why I usually flip them, so that they can all sit over there and be out of the way. I haven't flipped them because of all the pins, and I'm kind of regretting that choice at the moment. But it is what it is. You know how it can be. Right. They're all good. So. Well, for those who are also here for the great electric fart of Friday, the good news is neither of my work laptops, because yes, I have two, because I have two, not by choice, but I have two. Both of them survived, but what I had managed to do was unplug one of them. Now, I remember unplugging something, but I also remember plugging it back in. So I don't know quite how that happened, but, well, so there was me. You know, bing, you have a meeting in 10 minutes. Followed by, bing, I'm about to shut down because you've run out of battery. What? Well done, laptop. That's right, I thought I'd brain farts. Alright. So, frantic finding of power was then done, because they don't take the same power now, do they? Of course they don't. So I couldn't transfer the power to the one with the meat in, because it wasn't enough for that laptop, because that laptop needs more grunt than that. Don't know why it needs more grunt than that, because it doesn't do it. It's certainly no faster than the other one. But there we go. Apparently it does. So, because it kind of went, I see you've plugged something in, but you actually need to plug in mine, because mine's better. I don't like this one. I'm only going to charge really slowly with this one. Yeah, fine, whatever. And of course, we all know that if it's going to charge slowly, it more than likely means the other one will run out of power before this one charges. So, frantic hunting of why that wasn't working. And of course, it's then you discover that all your cables are in a big frigging knot. And, well, yeah, that was fun, wasn't it? So I hope your Monday went better than mine. We are, but yeah, we have. We have moved on to the next triangle, which is just like the last. So how are you, Flusenby? Longer than expected. You know how, like, sometimes time goes by and you kind of go, wow, is it that time already? Or other times you look at the clock and go, holy crap, what do you mean it's only so and so o'clock, right? Today was definitely the latter, and this doesn't look right. But it kind of adds up. I assume it will work out in the tensioning. But that looks really wrong. Why does that look wrong? No, it's right. It just looks wrong from this angle. That's okay. So yeah, it was an odd day today. It was definitely an odd day. Day started with a message from a guy who panics at friggin' everything. You know, the sun disappears behind the cloud and he's like, oh my god, the sun has disappeared forever, you know, kind of guy. And every time the sun disappears behind the cloud, he doesn't actually do it for the sun disappearing behind the cloud, but in an IT world, that's pretty much what he's doing. He'll panic about shit that really doesn't need panicking about. And it was like, oh, because I expect... Yeah. So that was like, 5 minutes after I logged in, and you're like... Now, interestingly, for once, he actually didn't need something fixing. It got fixed yesterday. So I don't care. But it took him like 30 minutes to actually tell me. And of course he goes, because basically something potentially broke, last Monday. And I asked him to check everything. And he didn't. And then on Tuesday, he whined to me how many hours he had spent trying to work out what was wrong with it, when I reminded them I told him the day before to check everything because I'd potentially broken everything, because I'd had to put back some security setting that had died due to mistake. And yeah, the problem for yesterday, which was patch day, and I bet he hasn't done it for all of his servers, but, I'm not his mother. And the problem was, and he said, well, I couldn't have tested it. Well, actually, you could, darling, because you have a cluster, and you have a load balanced cluster, and you can turn one off, because that's how we can do your patching if we really choose. So you could have rebooted one of them and checked to see if it worked. You really could, but you didn't. And so yesterday's panic that he had was completely unnecessary. He could have done something about it, but he didn't. So it didn't happen. So when it got patched and wouldn't start anything, he was probably in tears because, well, that's kind of how it goes. So yeah, it was yeah. It doesn't set you up for a good Monday when, you know, in 5 minutes you've got this phone call and you're just like, oh no. I should say, because, and I don't mean this, because as a person, this guy is really nice. He is one of the nicest guys there. As a co-worker, take him out back and shoot him. You know, kind of guy. Now, because it is important to make the distinction that it's not the person I have a problem with, it is the co-working aspect thereof and how they work. Them as a person I don't have a problem with. Now, there are people that I thoroughly dislike as people and as co-workers. Now, not in my immediate team, so that's great. Most of them are probably unaware of my level of, oh my god, are they still breathing? But sometimes you really need to make the distinction that you don't dislike the person, that it is not a personal thing. It is how they work, what they expect of people, or their communication, or their lack of understanding, or their lack of bothering to write anything down, or what they wrote down was bollocks, and so of course it doesn't work, even though you explained it 20 times. Those kinds of people, you know. And it is not that they, as a human being, are horrible. Now, as I say, some of them are, but quite a few of them, it is not the person. You know, if you bumped into them in the street, you know, you wouldn't need to violently, you know, run away or want to thump them. As a co-worker, however, yeah, I do. But it's a bit like there are people you meet who can be really nice friends, but you could never be anything else because they'd drive you up the wall. You can only handle them in smaller chunks. You like them, they're really, you know, but after a couple of hours, you're kind of wanting to, I need to get out of here. I can't take any more of this. So you never want to marry them because, well, now you're stuck in a house with them. So, you know, all of those kind of moments, you know. So they will only ever be friend. And they may make an awesome friend in small doses. I used to have one of those. I used to have a friend. And the worst thing was I could never work out what it was about them that used to mean after a couple of hours I really needed to go somewhere else. I said, I've got cold hands. Yeah, it doesn't feel cold in here, but my hands really are. Feeling terribly cold. And much like many crafting things, slightly cold, stiff hands is not a good part of this. So what do you do for a living, Flusenby? If you don't mind sharing. The great job hunting. There does seem to be a worldwide issue, job hunting, where companies just do not respond in a respectful manner. And what I mean by that is, you know, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, you know, it might be an IT thing, but because obviously that's what I hear a lot of. But one of the things that I find is that, you know, not that I've been job hunting for years now, because obviously I've been at my employer 20 years. So, but even 20 years ago, it was somewhat true. It just appears to be more true today. Is that, you know, hey, you know, you can't seem to apply for a job without going through an agency. B, you then, you know, they then get your CV. They then, of course, fuck with it, send it to their client. But they've already phoned, you know, they send it to your client. Then they phone you and ask you if you were interested. And you kind of go, well, maybe, because, you know, it's in Outer Mongolia or something, but you don't really want to go that far. And let's say you get an interview. Unlikely, but, you know, in this day and age, it seems, you know, that'll be the last you ever hear about that one. Next stage is obviously you get an interview, so you go for an interview, and, well, chances are you won't hear anything from that. And it's not even you don't even get a sorry but no email. You literally just don't hear. Absolutely nothing. Maybe you hear something, so you maybe get interview number 2. Because there's going to be 3 or 4. And, you know, you go for the interview. And again, chances are you won't hear a thing. Should you maybe get interview number 3. And there is just so much when, especially in today's society, when, you know, everyone's got email. Let's not pretend you've actually got to ring them. Well, to be honest, most agencies aren't supposed to, but they do anyway over here anyway. And I know this because I worked for one. As a favour, I will point out, not deliberately. I did it as a favour to the person who ran the company. I stood in as their receptionist for a little bit. And they did jack shit. The receptionist did most of the work, I need to point out, because I rewrote their system for them because it was shit. You had to make sure all of the CVs were in. You did most of the ringing. You did most of them. Well, they sat in their office and got all the money. Anyway, I didn't even get paid for the 2 weeks that I worked there. So let's not pretend that that was fun. But it gave me a very interesting insight into agencies and how they work. Because obviously I could see his practices now in the eyes of the others, and they were doing exactly the same. So he was not the only one doing this. But yeah, over here it's quite common that, man phones up, hey, I want a C# programmer, and they almost literally send everyone who's mentioned C# on the CV in. The agency themselves are not technical, so they do not know that X-Base means Fox Pro and D-Base or whatever. I know, obviously, it's going back a few years, but, they don't know if you mention some things and it means something to people in the industry, they don't know what that means. They may have heard those words, but they will only bother to search for the words that the clients give them. They do not understand that this and that are the same thing. They, over here, as I said, I was saying, the biggest problem I see is that, all you have to do is send an email. If the clients come back and said, yeah, we want to interview these 3 dudes, everybody else didn't get round to the second round. So send them an email. But of course, they don't remember who they sent it to, because they just send everything, and they then don't send an everything bar these 3 people, because, well, that'll mean working out which, taking the 3 people off the list. So they don't send it. And, an awful lot of people here in forums and stuff moan because 9 times out of 10, if you've had some dude from an agency on your case, oh, we've got this perfect job for you, blah, 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 blah. If you don't get in past the interview, they will ghost you. Absolutely. You are dead to them, and it's just kind of like, really? You can't even be bothered to, because the amount of money these guys get is quite a lot over here. They get about a quarter of your salary if you've worked there. If you stay 3 months, they get a quarter of your first year's salary. So, for doing fuck all or nothing, i.e. select star where keywords is true, send, right? they get a quarter of your salary. I'm not the first person in IT to think about starting my own agency, believe me. As a result, because they really do crap all. It's not like they meet up with clients and have endless meetings. No. They get an email, we're looking for this. We want minimum of this, we want some of that. So that's the keywords they chuck in their system and spit them out. It's not a hard job, I assure you of that. Part of me would love to work in the games industry. But I also know, like everything, that working in something like that can suck the fun out of games, so... Quite happy with it as my hobby. I mean, don't get me wrong, a bit like this, I wish it would pay all the bills and I didn't have to do what I do, but at the same time, I'm glad it doesn't, because I think if it did, it would take the fun out of it. Ow! Look at this. Did you see that? It stabbed me in the knuckle. Mean pin. Horrible mean pin. It hurt a bit. It is a mean pin. Yeah, this is gone. Oh, this is one I did the double thing on. Let's undo that, because that is awkward. And go to the other knot. Way around. Yeah, but you got stabbed! Dude, you got stabbed! No! I don't care how routine it is. It is exceptionally... I think I've only ever had one blood draw that didn't hurt. And I've had a lot. I mean, there are degrees of pain that can be associated. And I could tell you of a lovely doctor called Julia, who was evil. Yeah, I had 6 months of leukemia blood stabs, and I was getting multiple a day, and I still didn't get used to it. Yeah. I'm also slightly scared of needles. Partly because it hurts so much, frankly. But a lovely doctor called Julia, she lied to me. Every time she stabbed me with something, it always really, really hurt, and took her about 20 goes to get it right. She was an SHO, which is a senior house officer, and basically it's a high-level junior doctor. And she lied. One day, she said, I'm the only person who can take your blood, because I'd already said she cannot touch me with a needle like that ever again. And she came in and said, I'm sorry, I'm the only one. And I'm like, really? And she went, yeah, I'm sorry, but there's only me. So she stabbed around, she stabbed around, she stabbed around, she stabbed around. I'm screaming the place down by now. Veins are blown in multiple places. So she says, right, I'll give up. I'll go and get so-and-so to do it. Hang on, you told me that there was no one here to do it. Oh, anyway, guess what? Person she said didn't come and do it. Someone else did. So then there were two that could have done it. And of course, the person who came and did it got blood the first time. So, I mean, Christ alive, even I could do better than Julia could. She was terrible. She was a danger to everybody. I happen to know she's still in practice, by the way. I looked for her for a little while ago. She was doing well for herself, I think. But as long as she's not taking blood, someone else needs to do that. Yeah, she lied to me. I was furious. There's no call for that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, it may have been more practical for her to do it and quicker, but knowing that a patient has specifically said, this person, please no, never again, and you lied because you wanted to do it because it would be suitable for you. That's just so wrong. Rude, rude, rude. Yeah. We were never friends. Fortunately, her rotation went and she went off to do a different part, and I was very grateful. This looks like a right mess. Doesn't look like what it should. Let's undo this a sec. That's because it's you two. That's why it looked a right mess. Amy, do you mind not kicking, honey? Stick you in a stick. Oh, that didn't take too long. Now, I need to play pokey pin for, I need to put you. So I'm going to take you two out of here. I'm going to do a bit of a rejig because you need what you can have an extra pair. And then the extra one that was in there can go in here or be part of here and is actually what we need. So let's poke you up there for a minute, and we need to cross you, and we need you. Now, I don't need any of these because these were only in there for tension purposes. So, we can remove many of these along there like that. Just having a bit of a stretch. My back's still uncomfortable. I obviously definitely did tweak it somehow. And I'm really not quite sure what I did to it. But I obviously did tweak it at some point. Hands are still cold. It's definitely not cold in here. Oh well. Very strange. Right, you are done. You can go back in here. And be out of the way as much as you can. What is this looping business going on? There it is. That's alright. It's just a tension issue. That's okay. We can cope with that. One, two, three, four, five. That's you sorted. And then we need one of you. Them over there. What are you? Yes, Flusonby, I dropped my pin bot. I dropped the pin pot. The 500-gram pin pot. Well, I didn't drop it. It made a leap from the table, but yeah. And of course it emptied itself. Everywhere. That was distinctly frustrating. So it was just as well I bought the metal detector to be sure that I had actually picked up all the pins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I heard that fart, dog. Well, as I said, I bought this. And it's a lovely little small thing. It's got a clippy doodad so you can attach it so you don't lose it. But so you turn it on and it finds the pins for you. This is very useful if you have pets, small children, or frankly don't want to stand on them, sit on them, or anything else yourself. Because, of course, now, I do have, she says, extracting it off the desk, a pair of earth magnets. I've actually got a load more somewhere else, but I've got a pair of these. Now, these do really quite pick up pins. I mean, if I stick that pin there, it picks it up from a distance. I mean, it can pick it up from a distance. So you waft it around a bit and scrape the pins off. Scraping the pins off can be traumatic. Do advise putting something around it to make that easier. Especially when picking up en masse. However, if you have carpet, clothing, couch, anything like that where pins could arguably land pointy side down or somehow, like on jumpers, find half a thread to nick through. I mean, they fell. How did they do that? But they do. Metal detector, and it was as cheap as crap as well. It's not exactly expensive, and it looks a bit like a torch, so it's also a good burglar smacker if you needed one. But I mean, yes, it's made of plastic. It's not exactly the most exciting thing in the world, but it can reassure you that it's not going in cat, dog, child, you. Bear in mind, of course, there is, ever since the time I ate something and bit a pin, I really am quite sensitive to the loss of pin, because it was one of these, and, while that's not hugely long, put that in your mouth on top of your tongue. That's not a lot of room, and you've now got to keep your mouth open while trying to pick out said pin amongst the food that was in there, because of course that's how it got in, and because you don't exactly put them in your tongue for a laugh. And yeah, it was quite frightening, even by my standards. It was distinctly very, very unpleasant. Not, do not recommend, So with all of that, because obviously maybe the pin had been in my clothes and fell out or whatever. That was that was scary. Don't want to be doing that again. So hence, I bought it. And I still can't help but think of the woman who posted it on Threads, basically moaning because that's what her husband got her for a birthday present. She was a lace maker as well. And there was me thinking, oh my god, the man's a genius, marry him, you know. Because, well, to be honest, he's a genius. It's a cracking idea. I'm sorry, but I'm with him. I think it's a cracking idea. Especially if at any point he sat on one, stood on one, the dog trod on one, you know, which is quite likely. Or she just spends hours looking for the pin she dropped. So, personally, I think it's a great idea and wholly am recommending. And as I say, Amazon had that one for a very reasonable price, considering the peace of mind you get for it. It was like 30 quid or something. I don't even think it was that much. Might even have been less than that. Hang on. Well, exactly. Let me quickly go check how much it cost me. Hang on. Orders. It cost me £13.49. That's less than a pizza. And it came with the battery. You didn't even have to buy an extra. You don't even have to buy the battery on top. It came with a battery. I mean, obviously this will be a UK link, but for example, absolutely recommended. Has the paw of approval over here. Because, well, frankly, it's a cracking idea, especially for that money. 1, 2, 3. So yes, wholly recommend that. Wholly recommend. Well, even if you go to, if you go to your local Amazon, there's probably a very similar one nearby, you know. But for that money, I mean, Christ, you know, for the peace of mind, you know, even if it needs, like, you know, a couple of extra notes to ship it, result, you know. It's too cheap. It's almost too cheap not to, you know. It's one of those, like, you know, when you go into the supermarket and it's buy one get one free, and normally you only buy one, but the reason you only buy one is because, well, you know, it's bad for you, such as cake or whatever. But buying two really is quite a delight when you're only having to pay for one, you know. It almost falls into the getting it because it's too cheap not to. For you never know what other awesome things you may do with it later. You'll work it out when you get there. But now you have one. Yeah. I mean, it's also the sort of thing that you could kind of go around your garden and, you know, if you lost your ring, you lost an earring, you could find it now. Although I will warn you, didn't half make me jump. I was obviously sitting near something metal, maybe the dog. But I wafted it over myself for a laugh and it went off, and I was like, well, yeah, you would. Or your car or whatever. And obviously, car's got a lot of metal in it, so it'd be a bit more awkward. But, you know, there are bits that aren't so metally. And it does pick up at a reasonable distance. Fair enough. But I very much struggled because I pointed it and I was kind of at my left armpit and it went off and I'm like, there's no metal in my armpit. I'm not wearing an underwire bra. What do you mean beep? I think it was the dog because it didn't do it after that. But enough made me kind of worried that there was some medical crap in there that I should worry about. Because, you know, that wouldn't have surprised me. I did actually waft it over bits of me that have had operations on because it wouldn't surprise me. Actually, I've just realised there's another bit of me I didn't waft it over. I'll worry about that bit later. Actually, he says, thinking about it, I'll do it now. While I remember. Not that I truly believe that there's anything in there, but that beep was because it ran over its own thing. Hang on. No. That's good. That's good. Because you hear things like, you know, there's a staple in there or something that didn't come out. And you know, because I've had a fair few surgeries, I've got a few places to check. I did check the really obvious one, which is the 15.5 inch scar down my front. Because, well, that was a lot of real estate to be leaving things in, you know? You could put some big things in there. Right. Now on to annoying square. Don't need you immediately. Well, probably do actually, but let's put you over there. Extract you out of there. So that's square one, that's square one. There we go. But if you've ever had like injections or needles and things in your arm, and there's occasionally times if you've had a really bad injection, sometimes you can still feel it if you run your fingers. So if you run your fingers over them, sometimes it still feels like you feel it. Well, you can now check that there's nothing in there and satisfy that thought of, well, maybe there is. Yeah, it is. You know, it's the childish, but you know. It's actually quite surprising how much peace of mind you get from that. Yeah, really pleased. As I say, I even though I'm quite a logical person and I've played, you know, I've seen metal detectors before. It's not like I've never heard of one. I read that whine about her birthday present, and admittedly she had one with a little handle, so maybe it was a bit bigger. But even so, my brain just, because obviously maybe you're a bit older and don't fancy grovelling around the floor poking it with a torch end kind of thing, but my brain just went, the man's a genius. And I still can't get over how upset she was, because personally, that's a really thoughtful present. If someone had bought me that, for Christmas, but, my birthday's months away, but, if someone had said, oh, I got you this for Christmas because I watched you streaming all your lace and stuff and throwing your pins about and moaning about it, I thought you might like this. Genius! But I also know there are people out there who don't appreciate, let's call them more of necessities for their presents. They want something extravagant and frivolous. And I get that, it's your one chance to get something a little bit different. But I'm sorry, but yeah. No. Dear husband of mad woman, you are my hero, Oh, don't get me wrong, it maybe fails in many other ways, but on that occasion, winner. Really should have had some tea first, shouldn't I? Given it's 8:30, but there we go. Ow! Stop poking me! That was a painful one. It got me kind of right along the cuticle edge. That really hurt. But no blood so far. Despite the 2 pin attacks so far, no blood. So, from that point of view, it's not so bad. It was all pain, no blood. It is a bad spot. I mean, don't get me wrong, hands are a bad spot pretty much everywhere, because as we all know, this is where all the nerves are. But, yeah, could be worse. Could be worse. I hate the fact that Discord constantly seems to go, hey, you've got notifications, and then makes it really hard to find some of them. Because I thought it might be something important. But I can't find it. Yeah. None of those. None of my server links have things. But it still says notification. Well, what is said notification, please, Discord? Do you mind? Oh, there it is. You know, so listen, V, one of the things that always makes me sad when I'm streaming is I watch the viewer count go up. And a minute ago, there were like 5 or 6 people. And now, there's kind of you and me, right? And it makes me sad that they were interested enough to click on the channel and come see me. And then ran away. And I don't know why they ran away. Is it because it was not what they expected? Is it because I'm as boring? Is it, you know, what exact... because while I am doing this more for me than for anybody else, like we were talking about in the textiles channel, it's the effort and reward thing, isn't it? There is the effort of having to sit down and record everything and post it up on YouTube and you know, all of those kind of things. You kind of want to think that someone's watching it. You know, that you know, that it is actually worth it. And as I said, I don't ever expect to make money from doing this, because I think it would probably spoil it. I mean, let's pick on Thor, because obviously we both know who I mean. If I ended up with that many people watching, I would be scared. And I know that he's spoken quite a few times about how, you know, he's not a natural kind of outgoing kind of guy. But for me, it would be quite scary. But at the same time, knowing that makes enough money to keep him floating, by plenty by the looks of it, judging by other streamers, for example, it just seems that, you know, while part of me would like that and to be able to have the option of doing this all the time and, you know, doing long streams of crafty things and, you know, paying for better equipment, and because obviously all the stuff that I've bought to make this happen has come out of my pocket. And while technically I have had a payout and a bit from Twitch, and the reason I say a bit is I did loads of streaming years back, and the money that I had accrued then was still waiting because I didn't reach the threshold. So, but I wasn't far off the payment value. That's alright. This doesn't feel right somehow. There we go. So it was... No, it still doesn't feel right. I need to do the corner. So you're right. Oh, I haven't done you as a corner. That's why it doesn't feel right. So, you know, I think I've had... I'm gonna stretch and say about £45 out of it. Well, the camera costs about 180. The microphone costs a good 45. I bought some bits to use my proper digital camera originally, because, well, it's a really expensive digital camera, and I didn't realise it could only do really crappy resolution, for as a webcam kind of thing. Because lots of people say, oh, well, you should use your digital SLR, it'll give you the best. No, mine did not, even though it's a really good camera. And I then had to buy another thing because the battery life, it drained the heck out of the battery. So I ended up having to buy special, you know, mains converter for it. Didn't help. I mean, it would help for other things. But not as a webcam. It would help for long recording of video. But of course, I don't tend to do... It's not like I do this for 6 hours and record it and then upload and just talk to you over the top, right? It is very much a on the fly as I do it, right? So with that in mind, you know, it might be good if I was doing lots of tutorials, and so I need to record a fair bit of I'd probably record a fair bit of footage and then cut out the bits that I needed. So for example, if you were going to do, I don't know, a tutorial on cables, you're not necessarily going to start and stop, you know, go nitty, bit of cable, stop, nitty, next cable will start, here's how to do it again, nitty, right? You're not going to do that. You'd record the whole thing and then just chop out the boring bit in the middle. So it would probably help very much for something like that. Or to give you time lapse of an event such as warping your loom, all those kind of things. So from that point of view, it's not a wasted effort, but it was not the solution I hoped it would be, because the camera wasn't what I hoped it would be. My GoPro was never the thing it could have been, even though GoPro, it's 4K GoPro capable of 60 frames a second, not as a webcam. And you're kind of going, what do you mean not as a webcam? I mean, if you do 60 frames 4K, why can't you send that down a data cable? The answer is it just doesn't. So that was no good, which I was incredibly disappointed at, because I found my GoPro. It had a bit of a problem, but I've managed to sort that out. Again, I bought a kind of a mains power adapter thing for it. So I've spent plenty of money on this, and and I bought a ring light. The ring light wasn't very expensive; it was about 25 quid. And I bought a Steam Deck. That was friggin' expensive. So I can press buttons. So I've probably spent 350 quid, and so it's not. I'm not expecting to get that back in a hurry. Whereas, there are quite a few people who, almost get that back in the first hour of streaming. I'm never going to be one of those people. I don't ever expect to make Twitch partner, which gives me more of the ad money. I need to point out that I get literally, basically nothing from the ads. I mean, as an example, in the last month, I've made $3.93 from ads. I mean, it's kind of pitiful, really. Yeah. So out of 70 and a half hours streaming, I made $3.93. I'm not exactly going to be able to even buy a lunch. I can't even buy a coffee for that. Not that I drink coffee, but I can't, I almost can't buy a coffee for that. It's, yeah. So hence, not exactly, expecting to make any money out of it. But as I say, darling, it's the principle that counts, right? The fact that you are here, keeping me company while I work, is more than plenty. Because, to be honest, not all countries get the same amount of ads. As we all know from many of Thor's streams, he explains that some countries don't get them, some countries get less. It depends on the category, the country, the whole pile of crap. So, to be honest, not a problem. Really not. Oh, look, co-worker ping. Hang on. See what co-worker has to say briefly, in case it's exciting. I can't share that one because it's kind of sensitive nature, but it's work related. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, makes me smile. That one makes me smile. Oh, dear me, yeah. I shouldn't laugh this much, especially when I can't tell you what about. Adverts. During the advert, well, let me send this. Let me send this. Let me send this to someone else, because what they do, where they work, is even more. Where my ex-husband works, that'll be even funnier. Or not, as the case may be. If you know what I mean. Oh, dear me. There's always one. Right. There's always someone who has to cock it up. Let's make these all a little longer. Just getting a bit crowded up there. You're a double knot. Let's undo the double knot, because we don't like the double knot. I mean, it works. I'm not going to deny that. It does actually hold still, but it holds a tad too still, if you know what I mean. There we go. That reminds me a lot. Staring at things, that reminds me desperately of find where it was. There we are. Now, I was going to look at these. Those are really similar. Hang on, I kind of need to translate that. Hang on. Sigh. May recall that there was the company who sold bobbins that I really wanted, but they're currently not shipping to the UK. I couldn't find their notification saying that was true anymore, so I just went to order some ebony bobbins like these because it would look so cool to have ebony ones, and they still don't ship to the UK. They let you get all the way through to the checkout and filling in your shit, but they don't. They still don't ship to the UK. Mega disappointed. I don't really see why not, but because I bought plenty of other things from similar places abroad, but they seem to be the only one. Don't know quite why not. I may contact them and ask them and kind of, but I want to buy all this expensive stuff. I mean, to give you an idea, without shipping, and bear in mind this is without shipping, bobbins for this project only, i.e. only this many pairs of bobbins. I think I worked it out. She says going back to her browser. I've closed the thing. Hang on, let me recalculate that. Well, it's 416 euros. So, 416 euros. That's £347 and 76 pence. That's like my entire food budget for the month. if not more, including dog food and you know. So let's not pretend it's not an insurmountable amount of money here. Plus, of course, there'd be import frigging tax on that. So you know, let's not be under illusions here. But I really thought I'd treat myself, you know. In part because I know that it's bonus time, and technically, we could be getting as much as 20% of our salary as a bonus. Now, 17.5% of that should be guaranteed because it's from last year. And I've already potentially had some of it, so enough to cover the bobbins at least, you know. So, because I'm not spending money I don't have, don't get me wrong. It is money I have in my pocket. Well, not physically, in the bank anyway. Which is why I was, you know, desperately looking, and it's like, I want ebony bobbins. I want the pretty bobbins. I don't want to pay for picture ones, though, because that's just ridiculous money. That's like twice as much, 3 times as much in some places. It's actually quite surprising sometimes when you look at stuff on eBay and people asking stupid money for things. When you see a really moth-eaten looking kind of, well, not literally moth-eaten, but when you look really sorry for itself lace pillow and their starting price is like £75, and you're like, dude, I can buy 3 new ones for that. Can you? Can you not? You know. put you in a stick because then I can add friends to you easily. So you go in a stick, you can go up there, out the way. And then we grab the last 4 for this chunk. Like that. Go back in here because you're done. And we'll put you in a stick because I can add to you too. And you can sit over here out the way. You aren't falling down, so we will tidy you up. Right. So, two of you go in here, like that. You three go in here, like this. Oh, thank you, Fliss and V. Oh, big love. Thank you. Thank you very much. I do appreciate my subscribers. For I don't have many. But for those, the few that I do have, I thank you muchly. Oh, you've made my day. I'm actually a bit red now. I'm all embarrassed. Thank you. No. Now you won't get any ads at all. Hang on. Overly carried away. Need to do. Yeah, I'm actually a bit red now. Oh, thank you. And that ping is you. By the way, that my phone going cling then was you. No. Well, I hope you feel it's worthy of your sub, that you're not disappointed. Oh. Well, thank you. Thank you for choosing to spend it on me when you could have bought well, I would say a ball of yarn, but it doesn't really go that far, does it? Maybe a ball of yarn. Ball of cheaper yarn. And I think that's one of the hardest things these days, is that everything costs so much. And while, for example, a Twitch sub is not exactly super expensive, the reality is they do, these things do add up. And not everyone has money to spare and all of those kind of things, right? And so, while it may not seem much maybe to me, if I want to sub to a channel, mind you, I pay for Turbo, so there you go. There is the bit of you that kind of goes, well, there is the bit that kind of says, well, but not everyone can afford to pay that. Not everyone's got, $11 or whatever it is a month to pay for Turbo. Because if you follow more than 3 channels and you wanted to support them, while with Turbo, for example, we don't get any money from a sub. Right, well, so for those who don't know, from Twitch, if you've made affiliate, which is kind of not the hardest thing to do, I mean, there is some effort, but you've got to have done a few streams and all the rest of it, but it's kind of it, right? You've got to have like 20 followers and have done like 100 hours or something. It's I don't even think it's 100 hours. Anyway, whatever it is, it's not a lot. If you're in the right genre, you could probably almost do it in a couple of weeks, But what you get is I think some like 50% of the sub. You get something if they do a Prime sub. So obviously the user doesn't part with money, but I don't exactly know how much it is, but I think we get something. You get most, I think, if not all of the money from bits. Don't know. And you get peanuts per ad, right? And that's fine. It all adds up in the end. And if every 3 months I get a check for like 30 quid kind of thing, it's nice, right? And I'll have a pizza on Twitch or whatever it is, right? Or 2. Depending on where I go, it could just be the one, But it is, if you make partner, you get more. So you get more per sub, more for ads. But to make partner, you've got to have like 100 viewers on average a stream. But of course, by then you were already making a lot more, if you know what I mean. So it is their reward for you helping them make more money. But of course, if you have a stream where 10,000 people log in and watch it, you're heavily using their infrastructure, and they're paying for that. So kind of, it's not too surprising that they don't exactly pay huge amounts. But if you've got a huge amount of followers and you get, like Thor does, frequent hype trains of, thousands of gift subs, the money is just ka-ching, right? And I've watched, I remember calculating one particular streamer I follow. When he did, I did something wrong somewhere. This isn't feeling right. Did I not add some at this end? Maybe I didn't. He did a subathon. And I was somewhat mortified, to be honest. Because I worked out that even at the rates I get, bear in mind, and they live in an area where you don't pay taxes, you don't, so they actually get all the money, whereas I have to pay 40% tax to it, to the government for everything that I get. So, which is why it's 35 quid and not 50. I pay, it's not quite 40%, but I pay quite a lot. Even at the rates I get, now bear in mind they've got partner status, so, they get more. I worked out that in the 4 days, I think they did, of this subathon, they'd raised somewhere in the region of nearly £88,000. Which, to give you an idea, the average UK salary is 35, and that's before taxes. So they got 88 grand in their pocket, and they bitched and whined like a small child the whole frigging time. While they chose to do the subathon, things that I personally would not feel comfortable with should I choose to do a subathon, which, well, it is, and this was part of the problem. They had a bits thing, they had a thing, because obviously it put money in the counter, right? And I worked out that it was so much a minute, and they ended up doing 4 days, therefore it's an easy calculation, right? And when I point out that while they did 4 days, they slept for 12 hours every day and the timer ran while they were asleep, I personally would not feel comfortable with that. If you are paying for me to be on stream, I need to be doing. I may be talking to you. I may be almost falling asleep at the wheel. But sleeping for half the time, when you're getting that kind of money, you need to try harder. Frankly, was my view on that. I felt really cheated by that. Now, it's not that they can't have sleep, but surely you need to pause the stream. I don't get paid to sleep on the job. Most people do not get paid to sleep. And that was exactly what I thought, is that it felt too much like cheating. When you moan constantly, and more to the point, they slept 12 hours a day and then constantly moaned that they weren't sleeping enough. I'm blinking kind of in disbelief. I'm sorry, but if you do a day job, and I promise you that is a direct quote, I'm not getting enough sleep. Bitch, you slept for 12 hours. Man. But yeah, as you say, right, it was very much, it felt like cheating. And I mean, if you think, so, for example, let's pick on Thor again, right? He does 12 hours. But he does 12 hours on stream, talky. He rarely leaves the screen for 12 hours, right? And sometimes he's done considerably longer, right? And hats off to the dude. 12 hours every stinking day. Mind you, for that kind of money, I'd probably try harder too. So, but, he's built up to it. because obviously you do build up to these things. You don't wake up tomorrow with 12,000 people logging into to watch you do lace making. In fact, no one will ever, under no day ever will 12,000 people log in to watch someone do lace making. But, you know, it is that, you know, it's, but this guy had 4,000, I think it was nearly 4,500 people watching him. So there was ad money that didn't count towards the subathon. So it was only subs and bits that clicked the timer. So on top of all of that, he got ad money on top. Now, I don't know how much he got, but he is a partner, so he gets more than I would. But even if he only got a couple of thousand, which is normal for his weekly kind of deal, the man pocketed a lot of money from that. And bear in mind, he's contemplating buying a house and moving. Well, that's kind of a third of a house money here in the UK. So you basically kind of streamed like what you normally do, although his streams aren't usually quite that long. But, you know, you streamed a little longer than usual. You slept, let the timer run down, and pocketed, because everyone was keeping the timer going, pocketed kind of a third of the house money, and you're still moaning the houses are really expensive. Ungrateful at all? And I think that's part of the problem, is that, you know, when you listen to some of them really do come over as very ungrateful. And I've noticed this with the YouTubers as well. You get people who become really popular on YouTube, so they've got monetization on YouTube, they're being paid money to do it, and as I understand it, the money on YouTube is quite good. Not that I'm monetized, by the way. But you sit there going, and then they kind of do the whole, oh, woe is me, I have to do 3 videos a week and I've got a film crew who edit them for me and film them, and all I have to do is sit here and do the thing. Now, I'm not going to say that that does not take effort. I appreciate that it does. But when you're moaning about basically doing, you know, a day's worth of work a week and it's too stressful, you need to try the real world, darling. Have you ever had a proper job? You know. Have you ever done like a day's work and then been told to work all night, like I have, and then expected to work the following morning, like I have? You know, have you ever been in that situation, darling? Because I'm sorry, I did three days worth of work in the space of 24 hours. Don't moan at me. You know, I can't respect that. You know, yeah, I mean, I do struggle with the mental health side of doing this sometimes, because, you know, I'm not in the mood and I really can't be asked, and I want to burn it perhaps, and, you know, all of those kind of moments, because I'm not going to pretend I don't have them. But while I might say to you, I'm sick of doing it, I don't really want to do this, I want to do something else for a bit, or I'm not going to stream tomorrow because I've had enough of it, you know, I need a break. I'm not going to go on I'm not going to post an entire 45-minute video bitching about how hard my life is because I do this, right? Because, well, my life's not hard because I do this. It's just one of the few things I can cut out to lessen the load, you know? Now, did I just do this again? Yes, I did. Because I'm a douchebag. But yeah, as you say, I felt slightly bitter at him for quite a while about it. Bear in mind, he's currently talking in my ear. But I felt fairly bitter at him for that, because all he did that subathon was moan about how tired he was, how he didn't get enough sleep, how, and it's kind of like, darling, there are very few people in this world who get to sleep for 12 hours a day and make this kind of money, and you're sleeping through half of it. And apparently sleeping through your subathon is a done thing. And as I say, it's not the fact that he slept that frustrated me. It was the fact that the timer ran while he slept that frustrated me. I mean, especially as, not that I videoed it, but when Monsters and Memories did a play test one weekend, and it was kind of Friday night till midnight, Monday morning my time, and I stayed awake for Friday night 6 o'clock to round about midnight my time Sunday. I think they actually shut the servers off slightly later than that. I think it was 4 o'clock in the morning. But over that entire weekend had 4 hours sleep, and I'm like twice his age. Try harder, dude. Try harder. Now, admittedly, I am feeling slightly rough from the weekend for staying up till 4 o'clock, but I was not prepared for that. That was not on the cards. Because it was supposed to be a stress test, and normally with stress tests, they are very short-lived. They are, the evening to midnight kind of deal. Maybe till 1, 2 if they're feeling generous. They don't normally do it till 4 o'clock in the morning, my time. And, I did struggle a bit at the end because I'd done a full day's work and got up early. But, it can be a thing. It's possible. I can do that. And so if I can do that with no planning, no notice, and no payment, I think someone could try harder, especially when they're half my age, so. Almost exactly half my age, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4. What time is it? 9:30. I'm debating whether I do the next chunk here or not. Because that'll take me till 10 o'clock. Let's move you to a safer spot. I know what I haven't had today. I haven't had my spam bot. I seem to get a spam bot every stream. Just one. Obviously not popular enough for a spam bot today. Yeah, you're an hour ahead of me. Yeah, I mean, I know you appreciate the more you do today is the less you'll have to do towards the end. And for every, if you manage to do 5 extra rows every day than maybe you would have done, you almost finish a day or two early come the end of the project. So it is, every little bit helps. And, especially in this project that is potentially 18 months worth of project, and we're only kind of a third of the way through it. It is, every little bit counts, and the more you can squeeze in while you're on a roll, the better. Because we all know that, for example, last week, I did like a 2.5 hour stream, and all I'd done was that bit and the little bit before, where I've done 2 hours 15 minutes, and I've managed to do the 3, and I'm about to start on a 4th. So some days you're doing good, some days you're not doing bad, and if you stop when you're doing good, you're wasting good crafting time. If you're having a really shit day and everything's going wrong and everything's taking forever, sometimes you're quitting while you're ahead. But if you're doing all right, then, you know, frankly, perhaps joining in and getting on with it is a thing. I know my coding can go like that. Some days I'm on fire and everything I do works first time, and you know, I'm on fire. Do not stop. You know, because when you come back to it, everything you touch will turn to shit. So you will introduce 16 bugs by looking at it. You know, it's... Well, exactly. If you're really in on it and your brain's really kind of... your brain's almost got a backlog of code, your fingers can't keep up with you, and you're on fire, everything's working, you know exactly where you're at, you're just really in the zone. Giving up is the last thing you should do, because it might be a while before you hit that streak again. Not to that, you know, not at that level. I mean, we can have we'll all have good days and bad days, but sometimes it is like you have the Midas touch. Everything just frigging works. And those days are rare. And you need to ride them. You really, really do. For the coding gods may not look favourably on you in the future in quite such a hurry, you know. Assholes. Why am I undoing this? Because, my dear friends, I did not twist at the beginning, and it's only a few pins back, so we're going to go back and fix it, because, well, it'd be stupid not to, really. And yes, it is the Robithor. Of course it's the Robithor. I had hoped it was that road, but it's still not that far back. Again, just as I was really getting into it, I need to go back and fix it. It's not that bad. I mean, at least I noticed, you know. Potential chance of it being a perfect triangle is still there. and I'm sure Flusen V, you have the same thing with your knitting. You can knit, and one day, you know, you knit for 2 hours and you seem to have done like 4 rows. Other days, you knit for 2 hours and you've done like 12, and you're kind of going, I don't remember doing anything different. And so again, the day that you're flying is the day to keep going, because, well, it's the most effective use of your time. Yes. And I definitely have the same with this. I mean, I swear I flick my bobbins at the same speed every day. I mean, logic does dictate that if I could time certain aspects and I go back to like day 1, there is a bit of you that would like to think that I am a hair faster by now, just because, well, you know, this is triangle 26, for Christ's sake, you know, or whatever it is. 26? Yeah, 26. Had to think about that one harder. You know, and so you'd like to think that with the fact that, you know, I've done this quite a few times before, that, you know, some of it is getting quicker, that I'm making less mistakes, etc. But we all know that's not the case. But, you know, there is a bit of you that says, you know, I'd like to think I'm a bit quicker than I was. But it's not going to be necessarily, you know, the difference between, I don't know, it's not going to make like a day faster in terms. But we have had 1 week, there was 1 week where I think it was a triangle and a half. I was on fire that week. I flew through that triangle. Sort of like by Wednesday, I'd done the triangle and was starting the next one. And you're like, hang on, how did that happen? And to be honest, this, you know, if I have another day like today, tomorrow, for example, if you look at the square footage of what I've done, well, that can take us to, you know, that would say do the 2 cloth stitches of this bit. That would then mean Thursday I could potentially do that bit, which would leave bugger all for Friday. And then at the weekend, well, you know, I'm starting another triangle. So, you know, today, it's, you know, fortune favours the triangle, you know. Last week, it did not favour the triangle. Last week, it dragged and every stitch took forever, so... It also doesn't help when your brain's not in the mood, and you know, after an hour and a half or whatever, your brain's going, oh, I need to do something else, or I'm hungry, I need a wee, you know, starts making excuses as to why it's not paying attention. God's sake, Kimber, you did it again. I forgot to cross at the beginning of the last row. Oh, let's undo that one then. This is one of the times when I do make mistakes, and I know I do, but somehow I never see them until the next row. I never see them after I've done it. I only see it once it's too late, kind of thing. Especially as I could have sworn I remember twisting it, but apparently I didn't, so... And I've got to be careful pulling the pins out because it's really easy to pull out the wrong pin because you hardly ever put them in dead straight. Yep, it's coming. Before you ask, these were already twisted. Now don't take one out of there, you numpty idiot. What the hell was that about? I went to take out the last bit I just put in. What the hell was I doing? Goodness. Stupid woman. Stupid door. It does feel slightly weird being at a point where I can take pins out of work I only did earlier today, but I mean, I've done the same with my Bucks point before now, but that's because it's a rolling like inch of progress. This is a little bit more than an inch of progress that I tend to allow, so it just seems a bit odd. And you may notice that this time I'm not leaving the divider pins in between because, well, it dawned on me I don't need to. I mean, it helps define the edge of a triangle for picture purposes, but it's not essential, and it just makes more pins to be unpicking at the end when it's time to take it off the off the cushion. So see, I feel like I've stormed through this. I mean, I know I've got 3 rows to go and they get longer, but you know, a minute ago I was moaning that it was, you know, and I've stormed through it and I've had to undo a chunk or two. So it just feels like I've been storming through this triangle of ground stitch. Now is the time to change direction, because shuffling all these bobbins around is tedious. So we will move you round there like that, and we will pull out 1, 2, 3. And not you, thank you very much. So, cross, 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 before we all sort of twist, whatever. Cross my bobbins before they go, so that I don't screw it up. I'll twist my bobbins, you know what I mean. You are distinctly long. This dude's turning into a swear chicken today. Pretty much every word out of him for the last 20 minutes has been fuck. So all you're hearing is like, buck, 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 buck. It's kind of amusing for all the wrong reasons, but it's turning into a swear chicken. Again. Fuck. You need to be sure. You're too long. Get on my nerves. And I've got not many of them left. And you are another double one. I should shorten. Oh, I'll shorten that in a bit. It doesn't really want to go up, does it? Now I got 6 bobbins and 5 here. Have you only got 4? Yeah, you have. That's right. There you get 2. And you get an extra one. It's alright, little man. It's alright. What I will do is push a lot of these down. As you're staying. Actually, I do remember saying I don't need to push these down because these were only there to, those were only staying to support these. These don't need to stay at all. I'm a dish. If only I had a brain, people. I could be dangerous. Let's turn it round and try and pick up a lot of these pins, because these pins don't even need to stay there. They can all go too. It's so much easier for me to pick at these pins with a fingernail, you know. Let's lift you out to give a bit better access, like that. So, let's be realistic and draw the line here. Yes, I am aware I haven't finished my section yet. But yeah, it's easier to pick at them with my nails. I can go by feel. Pin pot. What I will do is I'll leave you in for now. That's picky stick. Leave you for now. Picky stick, picky stick. Bit hard to get some of these pins. Sink in, and even the picky stick's not that good at picking them up. What you have to be careful of is the picky stick can cut the threads. So you don't want that. What I can do is I can pick out more of these ones at this end. Times like this, I'm really glad I have 11 ambidextrous ones. They're not great, but can do many things with the left hand, which allows me to have access to things in multiple directions. Well, I'm not far behind you. Take care, Felice and Vee, and hopefully see you tomorrow. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for your sub. I am very touched. So much more work trying to pick them up than it was to put them on. Right. Now we can pick some out to put in the pin pot. We'll keep a few of you just to stop you misshaping the end. Right, let's get back to what we were doing. Let's finish my triangle, tidy up a little, and let's overly level. Right. So we need to stick you together, and you go around there like that. I need to push these edge ones down, because that is a thing. That definitely is a thing. You need to go in here, or maybe make you a bit longer, just to sort you out a little bit. So you can go in here and not be a pain. You two can go around that side. You can come down a bit, because there we go. So let's tighten you back up a bit, because well, you're keeping things honest like that. There we go. And we are ready for today's photo. Okay. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today. We've done a fair bit of lace for us. I should be back tomorrow evening. I hope you had fun, and I hope I will see you tomorrow. Good night.